That's a very complicated question because there's so many factors that contribute to that.
Yeah.
But let me see if I could respond
Sure.
to the bottom line, I think. If you don't know where you're going, any old road will take you there.
Yeah.
So I agree with Tony when you say, well, if you don't have a plan for the future, even in business, absolutely. I mean, it's like a business plan or even a national development plan. You look at places like, and we talk about them all the time, Singapore and Ireland, and you talk about China. When we went to China, in every municipal city hall, or every city hall, they have these floors. You go in, every floor represents a decade. And they have these models of development of what that city is going to look like in 2010, 2020. You go to a different floor, you see another decade, and all the white buildings represent things that don't even exist yet. You go to Guangzhou, that's near the shore, they're going out into the ocean.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, man, our politicians and our leaders have been exposed to some of this development because they get to travel all the time and see the models from different successful countries. Something happens when we come back home. We slip back into the same way of doing things, and I like to characterize it as needful things. Our success has been our Achilles heels to a certain extent. Because
our success has been our Achilles heel.
Yeah. Because we haven't had to experience the hard times and the hardships and the pressures that tend to bring about creativity. And I'm not saying Antonius has had a whole lot of, we're surrounded by this wonderful creativity here. But what I'm saying is, in places like Cuba or even Haiti, as mentioned earlier, you see some different ways of thinking to problem solve and to meet certain needs. Yeah. We haven't had that challenge here, really.
Okay.
Can I say something to what
Sure.
Mr. Ferguson started, and that is the whole idea of a plan. I think a very glaring example of how lacking a plan can be to the detriment of a country's development. Take a look at Arawaki. Many well-meaning persons have acknowledged that that is the most prime piece of real estate in New Providence. Okay.
Now you're talking about the key, the rail, not where the fish fry is.
Well, I want to incorporate all of that into it.
Area.
Okay, the whole area. Now, we would have all tried to read the two major parties' manifestos or platforms prior to the last election. All right. I haven't come here today with any political bias. I came here as a Bahamian. And I can tell you that if one looks at the FNM's manifesto, you would see that in the part of the manifesto referring to culture, there was a point in that where they said Arawaki would be basically turned into its full potential, whereby it would become the cultural melting pot for this country. Now, since the election, we've found out that there's an alternative plan, and that is to make it an industrial center, which really will do nothing to take advantage of that prime piece of real estate. How is it that we could go in such a short span of time from one polar opposite to another? But you see, and I think it points to something that the International Development Bank, I think their consultants had talked about, and that is, we seem to create or to devise plans primarily based on how it fits into the needs or wants of foreign investors, as opposed to making it Bahamian-centric. We make it foreign investor-centric.
Okay.
And so I think that I am fully supportive of the idea that so many have started to espouse, and that is, we need the plan, and once we have the plan, it empowers the Bahamian people to say, look, how does this fit into that plan?
Okay.
And even going off, using that example, when you're talking about a plan, that is a short-term solution to a problem that's going to be in the amount of be here for a long time. The amount of money you're pumping into something that can only be there for a short period of time. If you're talking about tourism still being a major part of this economy, you're talking about the expansion of Bay Street, you're talking about going straight down to Cable Beach, and you've just put an industrial port in the middle. And
okay, Ms. Hyler, you've been hearing all of this again as a young person just starting the journey. What do you think of all this?
Well, I certainly agree that we need a plan. In life, you can't go anywhere unless you know where you're going.
Hold on. We need a plan, but do you think we're asking too much of this government, of this situation with our resources? Are we asking too much to think about having a plan?
Dr. Wisdom, how can you ever ask for too much? It's your government, it's your country. Okay. You want to see it develop, you want to see it go where it needs to go. You can never ask too much. You ask for something and realize that the sky is the limit, and then you simply plan ways to get there. No, we're not asking too much for our government.
You think we have the brain power? You think we have the resources to make this? We have the brain power and the resources.
We are a country that is 35 years young, and yet we've been able to do so much. The problem is that is stopped. And so in our stagnant state now, we need to begin to move and to have a plan that lasts, say, 20 to 30 years, another 35 years, maybe even 50. And that plan does not change with government to government. Okay? And in that plan, you take into account that, yes, we know the times will change, the technology will change, but certainly we need a plan. And I can agree with that. Right. And also, we need to be able to have some sort of transparency in government. I feel like a lot of things don't happen because our officials aren't held accountable by anything. You see, and so we need to also look at that aspect of it once we begin to develop this national plan.
Okay, when I say the idea of asking too much, you know, I'm saying, you know, do we have everything that it needs, that we need to look at having a plan? Or is because of the way our country is laid out, the amount of people in the country, do we need to have something approaching a plan? You know, I'm trying to get at is it realistic to say this? Because it sounds great, but can we do it?
Yes, we can do it. I mean, for example, you take all those factors into consideration when you make your plan. You realize that we have 700 islands and keys. Just in this room alone, you have, you know, I'm hearing so many things, and I'm sure that we are not the only set of Bahamians that are able to bring ideas to the table. This is why you have things like the Blueprint, and you have consultancies with your own people. You have the mind resources how to do lots of things, but you must begin to educate your people and to develop them so that these things can happen.
Just that we have Bahamian experts all throughout this country who would love to weigh in. Yeah. And not even just in this country. We have Bahamians who are experts all around the world, helping to form plans and build other places who would love the opportunity to come and contribute home.
Okay. Phil, we need to wrap up this section. I was wondering if you could take a moment here, give us your views, and we'll wrap up the economy.
We have over 320,000 pieces that will contribute to this plan. So we got everything that we need. We have all of us and the rest of the Bahamians that constitute the Bahamas. This is one piece. Okay. And the plan is not a government plan. Nope. It's not an economic plan. It's not a Chamber of Commerce plan. It's not a church plan. It's a people plan. And everybody is a stakeholder. Those that are here, those that are not here, those that are national, those that are international. Because when you start talking